Yes, it's hard to learn about water. The way we learn it as traditional Indian people is we go and we fast and thirst without food and water in the mountains here. To learn the importance of water, we don't touch water for 4 days and 4 nights, and we don't touch food for 4 days and 4 nights. And then you really get an understanding of water, how precious it is. The grass, the little bugs, the fish, the people, the human race, everything's related because of this water. This water is very sacred to the Indian people here because we all depend on it for life. Without it, we'd all thirst to death in a matter of about 10 days. Everybody would thirst to death, or everything would thirst to death. That's why it's so precious, and we like to keep it clean. And this is what it is here. And it doesn't, this water depends on the human race. You know, it's clean. It comes out of the mountains naturally clean. But when you put a large cyanide mining in the middle on the top of the mountains like this, and you dump all these cyanide chemicals, these caustic soda chemicals, these limes, all types of different chemicals, and then you come in and you get a little acid mine drainage and you treat them with more chemicals, you pollute this water. And when you pollute this water, it's not only our problem here in the Little Rockies, it goes all over the world. It's a worldwide problem.
Western Montana, beside the beautiful Blackfoot River. When most people picture Montana, they envision a scene like this. What they don't see is the true sad history of the Blackfoot, one of North America's 15 most highly endangered rivers. I didn't know much about the mining industry before I began to work on this project, but let me tell you what I found out. The Blackfoot was depicted in Norman Maclean's classic, A River Runs Through It. Robert Redford ironically filmed Maclean's story elsewhere because of the difficulties with pollution and clear cuts. Located at the headwaters is the Upper Blackfoot Mining Complex, an historic mining complex so polluted that it is a state Superfund site. When a hard rain combined with a rapid snowmelt in 1975, a large tailings impoundment dam flushed thousands of tons of heavy metals and toxic elements into the Blackfoot. The result? Destruction of aquatic life for 10 miles downstream. Destruction that continues to spread at a rate of 1 kilometer per year. 18 years later, trout that live 65 miles downstream from the spill are still testing positive for the heavy metal cadmium. Now, the largest open-pit gold mine in Montana is proposed for the headwaters of the Blackfoot, a pit that will not be reclaimed. Clearly, this river needs no more ecological damage. What is less clear, though, is why we need more gold from the ground. Few of you may know that the entire mining industry is still running on legislation designed in 1872. Yes, 1872, when Ulysses S. Grant was president. But that's a film for another day. Today, I'd like to focus on the impact of the cyanide heap leach gold mining process. Modern technology has changed the industry. Gold is no longer dug with a pick and a shovel. Now, whole mountains are hauled away in 100-ton trucks. Gold is so valuable today that mining companies fight in court for the right to uncover deposits once considered too impossible or unprofitable to reach. It is now profitable to move 53 tons of mountain to obtain little more than 1.5 ounces of gold. Montana profits little from this quest for gold and other valuable minerals. Hard rock mining provides less than 1% of the total income for the state and employs only 0.5% of Montana's citizens. Yet the industry enjoys a political favoritism today that is left over from the era of the 1872 mining law, a time when the owner of the largest mine in the state also owned the state's newspaper. Montana is a state that still believes in the extractive industries, in spite of their record for spoiling the big sky country. These industries have abandoned 20,000 hard rock mines that now pollute 154,000 acres and have damaged 1,118 miles of stream, and is estimated to cost $912 million to clean up. This beautiful river, the Blackfoot, is just one of the huge polluted sites. If you hike over the mountain range behind me, you'll come to the Clark Fork River, the largest Superfund site in the entire United States. Scientists have been trying for years to develop the technology necessary to clean up these disasters, and they haven't found the solutions yet. Let me sum it up for you. This hard rock mining industry has created a vicious circle that keeps us spinning in greed and pollution and economic inequality. We, residents of Montana and the United States, have given away these mineral rights. In return, we are giving back degraded, polluted sites that we have to pay to clean up, if science can figure out how to do it. And just to pile the insults onto the injuries, almost all the profits leave the state. And yet state officials still favor the mining industry. Let's compare two mines, one now in operation in eastern Montana, and the mine proposed for the Blackfoot. Both mines extract gold with the cyanide heap leach process. What's the big difference? The mine for this river will be twice as large, and the cyanide heap leach pad will be located just 400 yards or less than a quarter of a mile from the river. The operating mines, owned by the Pegasus Company, are located in Zortman Landusky, Montana, adjacent to the Fort Belknap Indian Reservation. Earlier, you heard Joe Azure tell you about the importance of water. Now, Joe will describe how the Zortman Landusky mines has devastated the Little Rocky Mountains. Then, Mark Gerlach will describe the mine that is proposed for the Blackfoot River.
We don't call this a mine up here. We call this a disease, a cancer. And it started right here in 1979, a small outfit. They said, we're going to mine 200 acres, the life of the mine, then we're going to be gone. We're going to reclaim everything. We're going to clean all the water back up, then we're going to move back to Canada. They lied. It wasn't even a year past, and they expanded twice. They've been doing that to us now for over about 14 years. A constant expansion. They said, oh, we're going to take a little bit, and the government agency said, well, we'll add on another EA. The first EA was EA 1A and EA 1B. Now that's two expansions in my estimations, but they claim it's one expansion, so, you know, let them be. But to us, it's a lot of expansions. I think they're on their 12th expansion right now. And this cancer here is spreading all over the beautiful state of Montana, you know, which was once treasured. It wasn't only called the treasure state for gold and silver. It's called the treasure state because it had fish and wildlife, you know, elk, deer, bear, ducks, geese, mountain lions. It had the 7 Indian reservations here, you know. It had everything, you know, and that's what the general public like to come when they have their vacations. They come out here and they share this with us, you know, and we're losing this fast. The whole state of Montana is under siege by these mining corporations. And 89% of them are foreign mining corporations, you know. And they got the big bucks, you know. They could buy the press, they could buy the politicians' PAC monies, they could buy the support. And we have to fight them on our own spare time, you know, and they're eating us up, eating us alive. And as far as I could see is don't let them in. You know, once you let them in, they're harder to stop than ever. Don't let them in.
The Indians called it Spirit Mountain. The miners call it Gold Bug Pit. The mountain no longer exists. In its place is 2 open-pit gold mines. These mines have had 31 leaks and spills, including a 50,000-gallon leak of cyanide solution into groundwater during the past 15 years. All of these problems went unpunished but not unnoticed. In 1993, the Montana Environmental Information Center gave the Distinguished Armpit Award to the Zortman Landusky Mine.
I think our cause is a just one. We mainly wanted to, after we seen that the mountains were, how large the mining was and how much mountains it could destroy within a short period of time compared to the early 1900s and the late 1800s, the earlier mining. You know, they had a pick and shovel then, they couldn't do much destruction. But now they got these 100-ton trucks that could just tear a whole mountaintop down in a little while. And we finally realized that, you know, they're really doing damage, and we're worried about our sacred sites. We have places, sacred mountaintops, where we go for fasting and traditional ceremonies and whatnot. And that's what we're really, Red Thunder's really concerned about, is the traditional cultural Indian aspect of it. That, you know, the mining company can be allowed to just come in and rip and tear everything apart, and then where do we go, you know? We're supposed to be, the Indian Religious Freedom Act was passed, and the environmental laws were passed to protect the Indian and the environment, and nothing's, no enforcement. Nobody's looking after that. And we're just trying to bring that to the attention of the general public and ask for help. You know, we need help.
Our biggest contention is that there is not enough accurate or volumes of background data to say what the problems are in the Blackfoot. The obvious ones, of course, are the historic mining, but they just don't know. Hedleston District developed in the late 1890s, primarily lead and zinc, some incidents of copper and silver. Worked actively. Of course, the most famous one, like I said, we call the poster child of historic mining in the West, which unfortunately is not the only example of abandoned mines or abandoned workings, but it's Mike Horse Mine at number 3. And that is a result of mining in an unoxidized sulfide ore body, where the exposure to water and sunlight in the pyrite sulfide ore bodies results in the generation of sulfuric acid. That's what you see at the Mike Horse, and it's not only the acid mine drainage. In the east, in the coal mines, they have a lot of trouble with AMD, acid mine drainage, and that's the extent of it. But in western Montana and throughout the west, acid mine drainage, results in the oxidation of the ore bodies and the release of other heavy metals and toxic elements. The Mike Horse tailings dam broke. I remember we were out trying to keep culverts from blowing out during a flood event in 1975 when the tailings dam broke. It flushed a tremendous amount of not only acid-generating rock, but cadmium and arsenic and zinc. There's spots in the upper reaches of the headwaters where sediment samples, the zinc is measured in percentages as opposed to parts per million. By estimate of Montana State Department of Fish, Wildlife, and Parks, if there's any fish in the upper 10 miles of the upper Blackfoot, they're few and far between. The companies say that the greatest effect is as a result of the oxidation and the generation of the acid mine drainage is a smothering of the bottom of the stream beds. And that's the red you see in the bottom of the creek, Bear Trap Creek, coming out of the Mike Horse area. Well, the companies always come back, and they use typically the Sierra Club as a point of reference, that the only reason that the environmental they should come up with an acronym, because the way the environmental movement has been slandered is to mention environmental movement or someone as an environmentalist, they leave off the preface, but it's kind of accepted. Commie, pinko, fag, left-handed environmentalist, you know, obstructionists want us all to freeze to death in the dark. You know, and the industry has been pretty effective in portraying that the environmentalists are the evil bastards that are going to cut you off at the knees and let you freeze to death in the dark so they can go out and hug trees. You know, they're pissing up a rope. Because people eventually see the results of the community conscience and environmental ethics. Like in the case of Phelps Dodge, some attorney in Phoenix who believes that life in Phoenix, a high standard of living in Phoenix is a high quality, equates that with a high quality of life. He's going to determine my quality of life in Lincoln, Montana. Well, and he doesn't have a clue. Doesn't have a clue. The environmental movement is typically industry says that they're high financed and they spend a lot of money on people that live in urban areas that are wooed by the romanticism of we can have our cake and eat it too. And that's where industry is missing the point, especially when you live in the area where the resources are extracted. Like I've said, we don't have a high standard of living, but we have a high quality of life. And they think they're countering a high-financed organization, when in reality, there's not enough money that could buy what's in my heart. There's not, the Blackfoot River, as far as I'm concerned, in the Lincoln Valley, is not for sale at any price.
The proposed mine, called the McDonald Project, will be a 2,500-acre open-pit mining complex. 400 million tons of mountain and 250 million tons of low-grade ore will be dynamited and processed. This amount would fill 100 million mining dump trucks. This destruction will create a pit 1 square mile wide and over 1/4 of a mile deep. Eventually, the pit will fill with water of unknown quality, 700 feet deep. The process being used to extract the gold, heap leaching, is a process in which cyanide is sprayed on immense piles of crushed mineralized ore. Cyanide is used to dissolve the gold from the ore bodies. A lethal dose of cyanide can be as little as a teaspoon of a 2% solution. The designs for the McDonald Project's cyanide holding ponds and leach pads are similar to others that have failed. The heap leach pads will be only 1/4 of a mile from the Blackfoot River. We still just don't know enough about cyanide and its long-term effects. The Phelps Dodge Mining Company will transform the Lincoln Valley into an industrial landscape.
Right now, our congressmen here in the state of Montana, they're not supporting any environment protection whatsoever. They've actually, I think they've actually responsible for killing President Clinton's recent proposal that he wanted to help protect the environment. I think it's our western congressmen here that are doing it, because we went back east last year to meet with some of the congressmen, see how everything was going, and try to get some action done on the 1872 mining reform. And they said, well, all your congressmen are protecting that for the mining corporations. And we were shocked, surprised that they were actually doing that. And they got professional lobbyists back there. They call them People for the West and Wives of the West and all kinds of new names popping up. They're nothing but hired guns for the mining corporations. You know, we're the people of the West. We live here, our grandchildren, we got to raise our grandchildren here. And these mountains are sacred to us. We want to keep them that way. And there's a mine right up here you can see over my shoulder. There's a Zortman mine right there, one of them that the expansion is going in, the 1,000-acre expansion. And it just makes us sick to think about it. And the general public, I guess, really doesn't know. They're like us when we started out. They depended on the BLM. They depended on the public officials to protect their health and welfare of their children. Well, it's just not so. They're not doing it.
These guys come in, they tell me, trust me. And essentially what they're saying is, trust the corporate attorney in Phoenix. You know, trust that the stock market and that the value of gold stays up high enough to where we can address all these environmental concerns. Because goddamn, there's enough examples in this state of what happens when there isn't enough money left over by the companies to address the environmental concerns. They're saying, trust us, and I'm saying, come on up to the Heddleston and take a look at the Mycors, take a look at the Anaconda, take a look at the Mary P., take a look at the Edith, take a look at the Blackfoot tails. Sorry, I don't trust them. Show me, prove it.
This stuff is really spreading, and it's scary because there's really never been a real good study for the future environmental hazards of this stuff. You know, all this cyanide, I think the last EA I seen, EA number 10, says this mine here will leave over 1 billion gallons of cyanidated solution behind when they're done with the reclamation. And the future of which is unknown. They don't know what the future of that cyanidated solution will do to the environment or the people. You know, and then they're still giving them out permits like candy, passing out candy up here. And we think it's time for the general public and the American people to say, hey, wait a minute, you know, we got a right to life, we got a right to clean food, it grows in this earth, we got a right to clean water, it comes out of the mountains here, and we got a right to clean air. You know, we don't know what the air pollution is here, we don't even know if there's anybody monitoring it here.
If the pit leaks into the river, there'll be a kill-off until they have an opportunity to neutralize it by whatever methods they've determined to do that. If it leaks into the groundwater, which is, I would say, most probable given the history of cyanide heap leaching within this state, if it leaks into the groundwater, then who knows what the catastrophic results will be.
And that's poison. I mean, cyanide's poison. They use that in the gas chambers to poison each other. They use it in, Jones used it in Guyana to poison his Kalthoff, you know. And it's deadly poison, and this other stuff they're using to neutralize it, this lime and caustic soda, that's poison, adding more poison together, and that's going to cause more poison, but they think it's going to neutralize everything. And right now we just now got the BLM and the Montana Department of State Lands to open their eyes and say, wait, there's acid mine drainage coming down from the mine. Wait, there's heavy metals coming down from the mine, just now after 14 years. You know, that's because of our pressure, us people getting involved. We can make a difference. But we got to stand up and say, hey, I got a right to life. You know, you're gonna poison my kids while I'm standing here, a grown man? No way. You know, I don't care about your gold and silver. Let's talk this thing out and settle something here. See what the long-term range of that stuff is.
Life in the Lincoln Valley, if this process goes through, life in the Lincoln Valley and the headwaters of the Blackfoot, as I see them, will cease to exist. The question you asked about, can it be stopped? Probably the easiest way to stop it would be a strict definition of the Montana Constitution, which says that all land disturbances that are the result of natural resource extraction shall be reclaimed. The company has stated that if they have to reclaim the pit and if they have to reclaim the leach pads, totally, I mean, essentially put things back the way they found them, this is not an economically feasible project. That would be the easiest. Yes, and then there also is the opportunity for the citizens of the state to say, this is an inappropriate use of this resource.
I could just speak for this mine, I guess. I'm very dissatisfied with the reclamation work that's been done up here in the Zortman. I think most of the reclamation's been done on the Zortman side and also on the Landusky side. To begin with, they use a natural fall of dirt when they dump their earth over the edge. When they're done with it, taking the gold and silver out of it, they just dump it in the nearest coulee or the nearest creek or the nearest spring or the nearest headwaters or whatever. And then it falls at a slope, what's called a 2-to-1 slope. And then they take this machine and they mix this chemical mulch in with this lawn seed and it spray it on that 2-to-1 slope, and then it looks like it's growing. Sure, it looks like it's growing for 2 years maybe. And then when the big rain comes, like it just did here this weekend, it'll wash it all off. And there is no reclamation. So as far as I'm concerned, they're not even attempting reclamation to begin with, you know.
People that are baffled and can't understand the logic of it, of which there isn't. There is no logic to understand this, why activities like this would be permitted. Read Montana history. That's the simplest thing to do. That's the history of this state.
The state of Montana has to change at least 4 ways that it regulates the hard rock mining industry. First, remove the Reclamation Division and the Hard Rock Bureau from the Department of State Lands. The State Lands Division, which is responsible for maximizing the funding for the State School Trust, is at a conflict of interest with the Reclamation Division, which grants mining permits. Second, create easy-to-comprehend forms for interpreting monitoring data. Third, establish random inspections and audits independent of the mining industry. Fourth, require that the hard rock mining industry follow the Montana State Constitution that requires all lands disturbed by the taking of natural resources to be reclaimed. Let's begin to fix these problems now. We should say no more heap leach gold mines in Montana until state, federal, and private interests can begin to understand and resolve these complex issues. What else can you do? Think long and hard the next time you want to purchase gold jewelry. 75% of gold is used to produce jewelry. Do you really need another gold ring, watch, or pair of earrings? Remember, it's going to take 53 tons of mountain to produce a ring this size. Gold mining is civilization's burden, and it weighs tons.
The McDonald project will be only 80 miles upstream from Missoula.
What the people of Missoula have to recognize is that with this operation and the experience in this state, there is a probability that there is going to be contamination of the Blackfoot River. Quality of water in the Blackfoot River is going to determine the quality of their living. I think they should be paying attention.
We can live with clean water. You know, dirty gold and dirty silver, we can't live off that. We can't eat it, we can't drink it.
Our fathers died at the Kendall Mine. Montana bled its gold. The rivers flowed with cyanide, and the snow was red with blood. Wasn't that a time, wasn't that a time to try the soul of man? Wasn't that a time? Blackfeet grow vaunt, Assiniboine Cree. They fought a plague of greed, which prisoned us in shame and hate. They fought to save a stricken faith. Wasn't that a time, wasn't that a time to save our stricken faith? Wasn't that a time? From Medusa's head springs Pegasus mine, to cyanide our sacred earth, to sicken children on the red man's land, for you to wear a golden band. Once again, the madmen come to burn us with their lies. The Phelps Dodge mine on the big Blackfoot will cyanide our native land. Isn't this a time, isn't this a time to try the soul of man? Isn't this a